Hey guys, Matt here with Mediocre Manor, and today I'm here with Harry, Steph's father, and we're standing in front of his off-grid cabin that he's in the process of building. So today we're just going to walk around a little bit. He's going to show us around and tell us a little bit about what his plans are for the future and how he started this. So this is Harry, and Harry, what are we looking at?
Well, we're looking at my off-grid cabin. When I come down here to visit, needed a place to stay. Seems better than a tent, better than a guest room. So we built the cabin out here in the woods, as you can see, with no neighbors, no trouble. But because we're out in the woods, we don't have utilities.
Yeah, there's nothing.
So had to be off-grid.
No driveway, no nothing here.
Right. Built it, you know, with our own hands. Matt helped, and we had some help from Steph's brother and as well. So you can see it's a work in progress, but we'll take you on a tour. The first thing you might be able to see that's obvious is that we have a water collection. We've got gutters running along the front and back of the roof.
Yep. They
collect water into these 55-gallon rain buckets. And we'll get Matt to zoom in here, and you can see that they are connected underground to each other. So they collect the water off the roof, connected underground to each other so that they stay at the same level, and we can isolate them.
How far does that tube go down?
Not very far. This is Florida. Then we've got a pump, an RV pump there, and a battery.
You can see that.
I don't know if you can see that in the video.
Yeah, I'll come around.
We'll come around.
Yeah. So you've got that hooked right up to that water pipe.
Yes, the pump hooks right to the water pipe.
There it is.
And to that battery, we got a little 12-volt distribution center going in there.
Now, is that a shore flow?
That is a shore flow.
So that's what most people use in their RVs.
Correct. And if you see that 20-watt panel hanging off the side of the house, that's just a little 20-watt solar panel.
This thing right here.
Keeps the battery up.
The battery that runs the pump.
That runs the pump.
Yeah, cool.
But if we back out into the field, we can see that we also have 1,000 watts of solar on the roof. Just got that installed this week.
That's on the porch roof, right?
On the porch,
I don't know if we can see it from here. I'll hold it up nice and high.
10 100-watt panels, all properly grounded and on a rail system of my own design. The wires go down that piece of conduit that was next to that 20-watt panel and out to the equipment shed. So the equipment shed is integral to this whole operation because it's a pretty small cabin and we can't put all the equipment inside the cabin. So we got an equipment shed. We'll take you over there.
How many square feet do you think the cabin is? Do you have any idea?
I do. It's 12 by 24, so that makes it 288 square feet on the outside, minus, 2 by 4 walls and interior partitions. So
cool.
Not very big, but it's got a tall roof, and you could potentially put somebody up in the loft on if it's not August.
Yeah, right. Which it is now.
Which it is.
So it's a little warm up there.
Yep.
So this is the equipment shed?
This is the equipment shed. And in the equipment shed, we have equipment. Just kidding. We have 8 deep cell batteries, marine deep cell, big batteries. These are big batteries.
These are Everstar. Where'd you get these? These are big deep cycle power, Everstart.
You would probably recognize those as a Walmart brand, at least down here in the south.
Yep. That's a lot of batteries.
Those are powered by the panels, which are being run through this solar controller.
That's your solar controller.
That's a solar controller. And this is the output display from the solar controller. It's kind of cloudy today. We're not doing very well. If we
line it up.
We have a happy face over our battery though, so
that's good.
So yeah, happy faces are good. And we're seeing that we've got 78 volts coming out of the panels. At only 2 amps though, they could potentially be 12 amps on a bright sunny day. And if we go down here, we can see that we're only making 155 watts, which again could potentially on a bright sunny day at noon be 1,000 watts. So not a great day, but the other thing we can see if we go back to our main screen is that my battery bank is at 26.1 volts. Not too shabby, and it's
right in the middle there.
Right in the middle, 26 volts, not bad for a 24 volt battery pack. But batteries tend to run a little more than their nominal voltage and still have 6 amps flow into the battery. This is the inverter, and this takes that 24 volts and turns it into good old-fashioned house current, where you could run things like this compressor if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's this compressor.
Have you tried anything on it yet?
No, I'm going to try this compressor.
Nice. This is the test. First test.
The first test. Remember, you saw it here live.
Now you did run an air conditioner, correct? Is that that was the whole point?
From inside the house, yeah. But if I do this and turn this thing on, nothing happens because the inverter's not on. Let's turn the inverter on.
We almost had a crisis.
We'll let the inverter go through its startup cycle, and now we'll turn it on. And there you can see that compressor.
It's pretty cool.
Which we were using to run a roofing gun. Just because we're off the grid doesn't mean we have to be technologically backwards, you know.
So that 8 batteries over there.
Yeah.
That could power a lot.
It can.
Right? You can run a small air conditioner, like for the whole night.
Yeah.
You could run that all night.
I have run it all night, and it barely even touches the batteries because it doesn't run all night. You know, it cycles on and off.
The compressor.
Yeah, so it'll drop the voltage of the battery bank by a volt and a half overnight. But that's a lot of storage. Those 8 batteries, they're 120 amp hour batteries, and there's 8 of them. So you got some serious watt hours stored there.
Do you plan on expanding that, or is that should be good enough for you? Like, is that the max you're going to do?
The advantage to an expanded battery pack is just how long you can go before charging them again. There's no other real advantage. You could run this. Well, this is a 24 volt system, so you need at least 2 12 volt batteries. But you could power anything that you can power with those 2. You could power with 8 or 16. It's just how long before they need to be recharged. And so, but we have over here in the corner, we got, in case we have too many cloudy days in a row, we got the generator. Dual fuel. It will run on propane or gasoline.
It's pretty cool.
So in a real emergency, when the panels just aren't making any electricity for us and the batteries are getting low, plug it into the generator.
Got that.
And away you go. Because the
That's
inverter
awesome.
is also a battery charger.
This thing here?
Yes. See, it has a little input plug. You plug that right into the generator or any other source. You know, if you happen to be people put these in campers, and then if you're at our park, you can plug it in and charge your batteries right through this inverter, which, like I said, acts. It'll then go into battery charger mode, and it's also an uninterruptible power supply. So if you might be on the grid, but you might want batteries in one of these. So if you have a power outage, it switches in 10 milliseconds, so your computers and clocks don't go down or anything like that. It'll go over to battery power. So I'm using it primarily on batteries and generator if I have to. Other people will use it primarily on the grid, but have the backup batteries if the grid goes down on them, and then they don't lose their work, they don't have problems, because it will switch fast enough.
Now that's bigger than most inverters that I've ever seen. Like normally the ones that I see look kind of like that controller there. They're in that shape.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they're about that big, maybe a little bigger. Why is that one different? It's large. Is it just because it's more complicated? It has more options?
It's got a lot of features, and it's true sine wave. It's not, so that's why it'll run this motor. See, a lot of inverters won't run a motor like exists on this compressor because they're not true sine wave, and they create all kinds of spikes on the line. This thing's got all the filtering and all the electronics to run real 110 volt stuff.
All right, and I remember that because when I tried to run the I tried to run some kind of power tool off the van, that little inverter.
Yeah.
And that was the problem, wasn't it? It was that you were telling me that it was shooting up and down so much it must have blown it. It wasn't sine wave.
Yeah, the inexpensive ones are not very tolerant of dirty equipment that makes a mess out of the sine wave. They'll run phone chargers and they'll run lights and stuff, but you plug a motor into those.
Like a Sawzall, I think that's what I used, or a drill. It might have been a drill. It was something noisy.
Yeah, drill Sawzalls, because they got motors, and motors have brushes, and brushes create huge voltage spikes on the wave, and the little cheap inverters can't handle that.
That's pretty cool.
This thing's bulletproof. It should be able to handle that. If it doesn't, it's going to go back to the manufacturer.
How many watts is it, right? Most inverters have a wattage, don't they?
This is 2,000 watts continuous, 6,000 watt surge.
And is there a certain brand, or is it just...
It's, well...
Anything special, or is it just...
It has a brand, and its brand is... I can't remember.
Oh, that's okay.
It's probably on the other side that we can't see.
But it's a 2,000 watt sine wave inverter, I guess. Is
true sine wave.
True sine wave inverter. Cool.
True sine wave.
And what's this thing here in the line?
That's a battery disconnect.
Basically a switch?
Yeah, it's a 200 amp switch so that you can just disconnect all the batteries if you had to. But you don't ever want to disconnect the batteries before you disconnect the solar panels, because this thing needs to see the batteries to know what to do. So if you ever have to disconnect the batteries and it's not an emergency, disconnect the solar panels, then the batteries.
Gotcha.
It's just one of those things that I guess you got to know.
Mm-hmm. So this is it. This is the power center.
Well, this is, yeah.
You built this in a week and a half, right? Basically.
Well, the shed took a couple days, but then installing all the equipment took a lot longer.
Yeah.
A lot of wiring. You know, and 24 volts, you say, well, you know, they're just batteries. And that's true. You're not going to get electrocuted on the 24 volts, but they can source enough current to turn, you know, a 1-inch socket wrench into a puddle in about a half a second. So, puddle of molten steel. So, so you do have to still be careful. And then, of course, the output of the inverter is high voltage, just like all the plugs in your house.
So this right here is danger.
Well, that's the bare wires are the grounds, but the line and the neutral, those are just the same as any plug in your house, and you can get fried on those if you try hard.
So basically, we've got the solar panels coming up through that.
Through the conduit.
It goes into this thing.
Into the controller.
And then the batteries, well, this thing is basically just here reading information.
Right, this is just communicating with this and displaying the information.
Okay, and then the battery power, what I see here is the ground. Actually, they're both going into this.
Correct.
And then you've also got it looks like these are connected together.
They are. This is a maximum power point tracking controller. It looks at what's coming in from the panels and figures out the best way to use that to charge the batteries. It doesn't take much. It'll start charging. It was charging at 8:30 this morning with just barely a little bit of stuff. I mean, not a strong charge, but a little bit.
A little bit.
And it charges by feeding it down to the battery. So these could have gone straight to the batteries, but I had these happen to have these little terminal blocks here for the inverter anyway. So I said, well, it makes a nice convenient place to attach it. And then of course we have a 300 amp fuse on the battery pack.
What's that for?
That's just in case something in here or in here melts down and the batteries start flowing current. It'll blow the fuse so that hopefully we don't burn everything down.
This little shit.
And that's basically what fuses do, right?
Yeah.
That's what fuses do.
It's a big looking one. Okay, so you've got all these connected together, and then you've got the power coming out that and then into a ground.
Yep, again.
Well, just straight into the ground. That's ground cable, right?
That's underground feed, yep.
Any conduit around that?
No, but I put it under the conduit for the solar.
Oh, okay.
So that it's somewhat protected, but it is underground feed rated.
And that goes straight into the cabin.
That goes straight into the cabin. The green wire goes to the ground rod. There's actually 2 ground rods. I think a lot of places with dry soil require 2 ground rods at least.
Really?
8 feet apart. 8 feet long, 8 feet apart, bonded together, blah, 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 blah. Read the code. It's it's a little daunting, but basically they want to make sure that everything's connected to the earth. So that voltages can't rise way above the earth because people are standing on the earth, and that makes it a little safer for them. Plus, lightning strikes and stuff then go to earth, and hopefully doesn't destroy all this expensive equipment.
Yeah, that would be a disaster.
That would
We get a lot of lightning here.
You do. This is a high lightning area.
So this is where you buried it. This is a propane tank?
That's a propane tank that actually isn't being used, but it was free, so it's sitting here just in case.
Yep, that'll be a backup to a backup.
To a backup. Right.
Backups have backups and more backups here.
Right. So let's take a walk. Stairs are on the list, but we haven't gotten to those.
Power's more important.
Gotta have power.
Tyvek, keeping the house dry.
Most popular siding in Florida.
Yep.
That's
Looking pretty good.
Then we got the course, the rocking chairs. You can't really have a cabin in the woods without a porch and a rocking chair to sit and have your beer.
Some porch swings. All right, let's go inside.
Let's take a look inside. So you might have
There's
been
the shed over there.
sketched out by the fact that I'm collecting rainwater, but I stuck these 3 filters together, strung these 3 filters together. This is the accumulator tank, so the pump doesn't run as often. This is the little solar controller, like the big one, but this just handles that 12-volt battery that's under the house instead of all the 110-volt stuff.
Way smaller.
Way smaller. It's got a very simple job. Just keep that battery charged. But my water comes in here, and I have a general purpose filter and then a combination filter that does a little bit more filtering and has carbon to take contaminants out. And then this is a 5 micron carbon filter. So the water that comes out of the faucets is pretty clean.
It's just coming right off the roof.
Off the roof into the barrels through the 3 filters.
And that should be more than enough, right? Because most people would say you shouldn't drink rainwater off a shingled roof.
We don't drink it. We
Oh, you don't drink it?
Well, I think you probably could, but until I get it tested, better safe than sorry.
Okay.
But
I thought you were drinking it.
no, I use it for washing and brushing your teeth and stuff like that. But but in terms of, and I'm betting it's clean, but I got to get a sample and send it out.
Just in case. You would think they would clean anything that might be on the roof, but I think that's a good idea to get it tested.
It comes out pretty clean looking, I'll tell you that. We got our 3 little switches here. This switches on and off the solar panel, the little one, the 20-watt one, not the big system. This switches on and off the RV pump. I had it off. And this switches on and off the toilet. And you're like, what? Well,
yeah, toilet.
With no septic system, we needed a new solution for that. And it's a composter.
Composting toilet.
Composting toilet.
Yeah, that'll be nice light. And there it is.
And there it is. There's the composting toilet.
That was pretty pricey, wasn't it? It's more than the price of a bucket.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could use a bucket, but then you got to empty that bucket somewhere.
Right.
This, you fill it up with some organic. I use coconut fiber. You fill it halfway up.
Just take the top off there and fill it up?
Yep, that comes right off. It's got these little latches, and it just unlatches, lifts right off.
Dump the coconut in.
Put some coconut in. Put it back together. It separates. It separates number 2 on this side from number 1 in the bucket. So it is kind of like a bucket.
Yeah.
And then it's got this stirrer, so that you can stir up the coconut. And you can also use peat moss, or some people, like we've been heard, use sawdust. stir it up, mixes in with the thing, with the number 2, and starts to just break down.
Right inside the bucket there.
Right inside the bucket.
Does it have any venting or anything?
It does. So this is the incoming vent with a filter in it.
So the smell can't get out?
Smell?
Maybe like
well,
a one-way?
It can't
or...
anyway because it's got a little fan. And remember that switch for the toilet?
Yeah.
It's running this little fan over here. So this is a fan housing, and it's got a little fan. Here's the wire coming to it right here.
Neat.
And this vents out through the floor. And once again, I have a screen on the floor, a piece of insect screen, so that bugs don't come up the tube and into the toilet.
That's a good idea.
Because, you know, bugs like this stuff. And this is our little number 1, number 2 lever. Down for number 2, up for number 1.
And will it open? Can we see inside it, or is there some? Is it gonna?
If you wanna.
Well, I don't want to see in there, but like, so when you. So the number 1 goes in those 2 holes.
Goes in
and
the
you would
holes.
just have this closed for number 1. Just like it
Yeah,
is now.
just
You
like
would
it
just
is.
go.
Yep.
And then for number 2, that basically opens it right up to that trap.
Yep.
Oh wow.
And there it goes.
Now, does the fan run constantly?
Yes.
Never stops.
Never stops.
Okay.
Some people, again, don't use the fan. What they do is they plumb it to a vent pipe that goes through the roof, and then you get the natural convection. I didn't want a pipe through my roof, so I just stuck it over in the corner, and I have the 12-volt battery.
Yeah, and I don't smell anything. Even when you just opened it up, I didn't smell anything.
No, because the air is always being moved to the outdoors.
That's pretty cool.
Plus the coconut or peat moss or sawdust, or it comes with instructions that absorbs everything and it mixes all in and it turns into an environmentally friendly, happy little pile of you know what.
SHI something.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's cool.
Here's our, this is the water that's not coming out because I have the valve shut off.
It doesn't work.
No, it works. Hold on.
You're a failure. Delete the video.
No.
I'm gonna switch the switch. Oh no, that was the valve.
I had the valve off. I had the valve off.
So this is rainwater from your buckets.
Rainwater from the bucket.
Right up the sink.
Right there.
Nice. I don't see any roof. Anything from the roof?
Oh,
Filters
geez.
must be working.
Well, 5 microns is pretty small. Not like a camping filter that a sub-micron. They're like half micron or 3/4 of a micron. They'll actually start taking out single-celled organisms. But the 5 micron won't.
You could add one to that though. You could add or subtract
add.
anything.
But it's more the chemicals that might be in the roof. Probably should have put a metal roof on the thing.
Yeah.
But you know.
You got a water heater in that box, right? What are you going to do with that? See, Eco Temp.
Oh, yes, that is. That's a water heater that I kind of jumped the gun on that. I thought I was going to have my shower going a lot earlier than this, but it's propane fired, instantaneous. Again, we're going to go with solar hot water, but again, if it's dark or it's winter or whatever, and you don't have the solar, then you need something to back that up. Depends on how long you're going to live here. So
that's another backup.
That's another backup. It hooks to a like a Rhino bottle and instantaneously heats water as it goes through.
Propane fired.
Propane fired.
But you said you're going to do solar powered hot water or solar heated water?
Correct.
Okay, cool.
Well, we haven't got there yet.
No, not yet.
We haven't got there yet. The good news is it's August and you don't really need real hot water. So this is a regular breaker panel like you see in any house. Because it's being fed from that underground cable.
Right from the batteries.
Right from the inverter, which are being fed by the batteries.
That's cool.
And we so far have one whole plug installed.
Yeah, wow. Have you used it?
Yes, I have that plugged into the air conditioner, which is way over on the other side. So this is the kitchen.
Oh, so you had an extension cord running down here.
Right.
Oh, I gotcha.
Right.
Just because you haven't wired it up yet.
Only so many hours in the day, and
right.
So far we have, I got to run wires to lights and.
Got a nice sized loft though, plenty of room for wires.
Plenty of room, yeah.
Yeah.
And then in the bedroom with the air conditioner.
This is the bedroom.
This thing's been running for days now. Well, it's not running right now, but. It would if I got the extension cord out and plugged it in. And it keeps the bedroom cool. And it keeps the cabin cool. It actually gets cool enough at night so that I can shut it off. Although it shuts itself off when it reaches temperature. But now though, I think I'm gonna just crack these windows, take advantage of a little bit of a breeze and a cloudy day when we could get some fresh air in here. So we got curtains, but we don't have walls.
No walls yet. What's the plan with that?
Well, walls are highly overrated.
Not looking forward to them. Well, you did one in the bathroom that looks really nice.
Yes, we have walls in the bathroom.
Sheetrock, right?
Yep, sheetrock, tape, joint compound, paint. Kind of need. The bathroom was kind of key to being able to live.
Yeah.
I mean, you can live in a tent. Lots of guys do for a long time, but you want to have a few creature comforts.
Yeah, absolutely.
And,
the bathroom's usually one of them.
bathroom's pretty high on the list. I don't know if we saw that there's a shower there, but
Shower, yeah.
but there's no
Right
actual
there in the
plumbing in the shower yet, and the shower doors are still laid on the floor over there.
It's a nice little shower. Got some shelving.
Yeah.
Does it have a door that goes around it?
Yes, it's a rotating door,
Mm-hmm.
and it's laying here on the floor, waiting to get broken until I get a chance to install it. It's over here.
Oh yeah.
So
This is really nice.
there's only so many hours in the day,
Mm-hmm.
and
Only so much you can do. I think total right now you've probably worked on this like a month, maybe.
oh,
How long do you think
I don't
it's taken you
know.
to get this far? Not long. I mean, you've been
started
busting.
it a year ago. Just about a year ago that I was here in the woods starting this thing, digging holes for the concrete footings.
Was it really that?
Yeah,
Oh.
last August.
But you don't live here, so you've only. Maybe you've had 4 trips down here, maybe.
Probably, I think more, because I was here in August, and then I came back in October. Although mostly that time I was working on your deck.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was at the van.
There's all kinds of stuff going on.
We had a lot of stuff. We got, besides this project, we had about 100 projects going on. But anyway.
But the point I'm trying to make is this could be some kind of record. How fast this has gone up.
Straight man hours?
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. No,
You've been moving.
But we're talking weeks, not years, so.
Beautiful pine floor.
Yeah, right from Home Depot, and
Yep.
then 3 coats of poly.
Yep.
I did all the floors before I did any interior walls, so I wouldn't have to cuts to make.
It's a good idea. It's a very nice floor. You got like antique nails, right? Antique cut nails.
Yeah,
Is that what they were?
There's a place in Massachusetts, Tremont Nail in Wareham, still makes these on the same equipment that they made them in the 1800s.
That's pretty cool.
So you can buy, although I'm sure they cost more now, but you can buy these cut nails, square cut nails, and it makes it look pretty officially old.
Yeah, the floor looks really nice
It's a good look
when you first walk in.
Yeah.
So did you have any issues like when you were building this? Anything that if you could go back that maybe you would have done differently? You know? Or has everything just kind of worked out the way you thought it would?
It's coming along. I mean, you always have things that happen and come up. You have to change. You have to adapt on the fly. You want to do this, but you can't. You got to stop and do that kind of thing. But it's not the first thing I've ever built. So it's
You knew.
I've built a lot of stuff, and so I kind of knew what was going on. Got that pass load fuel powered nail gun.
Oh man, yeah, those things are cool.
Yeah, you can drive nails real fast with that. So it's not like I'm out here bang bang.
No, you're out here shooting the gun. Boom, boom, boom.
Boom 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 boom.
Yeah, that thing is great. I love that thing. There's the nails for it right there.
Yeah.
A little stuffy in here without
With the AC not running.
AC
yeah,
up,
that's
yeah.
why I was going to open some more windows here.
just in case.
Um,
Yeah, very nice. Here's the view out front. There's a nice breeze out here. Nice porch. There's the bedroom window. What are you gonna do upstairs?
I think I'm going to take down some of the ceiling joists that are in the kitchen and leave it as a cathedral ceiling, and then the part that's over the bathroom and the bedroom, we'll put some flooring down and trim it out a little bit. And it could be like a loft.
Nice.
So if you had a guest, they could sleep up there. Although, like I say, at this time of year, in the deep south, it's a little sticky, a little steamy and sticky up in the loft.
Put some central air in here.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think the central air will run on 1,000 watts of solar?
Get more batteries, right? No, that's the biggest battery bank I've ever seen.
Right. No, I'd need more panels. So, but there's room up there for panels, and a lot of these systems are scalable. You can scale them up. So, but it's, you know, that's not the goal. The goal is to live a simpler life. So.
Yeah, it's really cool, and I think my favorite part is the water collection. These 2 barrels you got on Amazon, right? Are these 55-gallon barrels?
I buy everything on Amazon. I love it.
Yeah.
Because they don't care where they ship it. You know, you have Amazon Prime, it's free shipping, and they don't care where you ship it.
So you've got the gutter shooting right into the plastic top.
Yep. Plastic top came with the barrel. I just cut out the rectangle to stick the downspout into.
And the water just goes in there, and then it drains out through here with the pump, and it goes through the filters, and it's in your bathroom.
In the bathroom. So,
and
cool. I put in tees for the eventual kitchen. So we'll eventually have a kitchen. We're gonna have to have a dry well for the gray water.
Right. Yeah, we gotta find you one of those.
But the big deal is that that composting toilet, you don't need a real official septic system.
That's awesome.
Because you're creating compost, not sewage.
Yeah. So right now, I mean, you could live out here.
I do.
You've got water.
When I'm visiting.
Part-time, yeah.
Part-time, right. I could live here full-time.
You've got water, air conditioning, no heat yet, but then again, we're in Florida, so like, would you really need it? Probably not.
No.
In other parts of the country, what would be different? Maybe a fireplace?
You could have a fireplace or a wood stove if you're a little further north.
Yeah, in New Hampshire or something.
It's hard to do anything when the temperature drops below 0.
Yeah. I bet the batteries might have an issue too, being outside, huh? In the cold?
Yes, battery capacity diminishes in the cold. So
you'd have a lot more issues to deal with.
And then you have things like freezing water pumps and stuff like that.
Oh, that's true. Pipes, pumps.
So you're going to have to put something in the ground, like a mini basement or something, to put that stuff in so that it doesn't ever drop below freezing and blah, blah, blah. And your water barrels are going to freeze. And
oh, yeah.
It's like, it's harder to be off the grid in the frozen north.
Yeah. Probably can still do it, but you'd have to collect firewood.
Right. Oh, yeah, you can do it. People did do it. I mean, Little House on the Prairie or Little House in the Deep Woods. Most famous of those stories, I guess. But for crying out loud, then there's Dick Brenneke, who moved into Alaska. He wanted to see if he could spend a winter living in Alaska off the grid in the middle of nowhere. And he was planning to stay for a year. He stayed 20 years.
Get that.
And talk about off the grid. He was happy when he got the inside of his cabin up to 45 degrees. He had to go cut holes in the ice to get water out of the lake.
Sounds horrible.
But you got deeper and deeper. By the midwinter, I think he had to cut through like 3 feet of ice to get water.
That's horrible.
So, yeah, that's a lot harder to do.
No, but here, that wouldn't be a problem.
Nope.
Maybe we freezing here a couple times a year.
Right.
But I've had PEX outside also, and that hasn't frozen ever, so.
Right, and the water lines from the town, if you are on the grid, they're only this deep in the ground. When they cross bridges, they're up above the ground, you know. If you're driving down the street, see in the frozen north, everything's, 3 feet or more underground. But out here, you see them pop up, go over the bridge, and then back down.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
They do that with like the gas pipes too.
Yeah, well, it's harder to freeze gas.
All right. Anything else before we close this video out?
No, I think
there's the little shed. There's Harry in front of his cabin.
It's a work in progress. I've spent weeks and weeks down here. You know, not necessarily contiguous. This might have been the longest time. I've been here almost 3 weeks this
yeah.
time. Headed back today, but been here for a week at a time and other times. And when I'm here, I live here. Yeah. The other thing is that it could be small because you can spend so much time outdoors here. If you're, you know.
Right. That's a good point.
If you were in 288 square feet in the middle of winter in New Hampshire, you'd go stir crazy.
Yeah.
You better like the outdoors. You better like snowshoeing
Right.
or cross-country skiing, because otherwise you're going to be cooped up. So.
No, that's a really good point, because you basically only sleep in there. Maybe you go in there once it starts to get dark, right? Other than that, you're outside.
Right.
When you're up here.
Yep.
Even in the heat. I mean, there's no need to be indoors. You can just go sit under a tree in the shade somewhere.
Right.
So that's a very good point. Well, I guess we'll have to come back. You said maybe in October we'll do another trip here.
Yeah.
And do some more work. So I guess this will be part 1, and we'll do a part 2 next time. I don't know what the project is going to be next time, whether it's siding or probably the bathroom.
Kind of need siding because we're running out of staples.
Yeah, right. That comes down on the wind.
The wind, the tie that keeps coming off, but
Yeah.
but it just doesn't seem like, you know, there's so much else to do.
Right. That's not crucial.
That's not a high priority. The solar was a high priority, but that's in. That's in and running.
That was this trip's plan.
And so if we had to, we could get some kind of a little heat pump for. I think I've seen them freestanding. You know, you plug them in and duct them out a window or something.
Yeah, I've seen those.
Little heat pumps, and all they do is they move heat from one place to another, like an air conditioner, like a refrigerator. They're heat pumps. They don't create heat. They don't create cold. What they do is they take heat and move it from one place to another. So air conditioners move the heat to the outdoors. Heat pump heaters move the heat to the indoors.
So it would be similar in energy consumption, hopefully.
Yes. Yep.
Similar to the AC. So if you can run the AC, you should be able to run that little heat pump.
Correct.
That's interesting.
So
maybe that'll be on the next one.
should actually, I think the differential is even less, you know, because you're down here, you might want to go from close to 100 down to 70.
Yeah.
But in the winter, well, I don't know, would 30 to 70, so about the same, but it's never.
It's never really that cold. Usually, I think the average in January and February only is probably like 50. It gets pretty warm during the day, usually 60. So at nighttime, I don't know, maybe 40. I think it would work out well.
Should work out.
All right. Well, thanks for giving us a tour.
You're welcome.
Have a safe trip back to Massachusetts, and we'll see you again in October,
Yeah.
part 2,
Let's hope.
with Harry. All right.